Good evening, everyone. Just before we begin, could I have Councillor Miller out front, please?
You're being fired. Come on up.
Did you get a package from Devon?
I've
been trying for 20 years.
Kurt, this is in recognition of your 12 years. It's your 12-year scroll recognition of being on council.
Thank you very much.
Nice.
That's Tim, yeah.
I'm going next year.
Good evening, everyone. May I have an approval of the agenda, please? Moved by Councillor Olson, seconded by Councillor Bigger on the question. Please vote now. Motion carried 7-0. Treaty acknowledgement, moment of reflection. Councillor Miller, please.
Sorry. We would like to respectfully acknowledge that Quispamsis exists on the traditional territory of the Wolastoqey, Maliseet, and Mi'kmaq people whose ancestors, along with the Passamaquoddy tribes, signed peace and friendship treaties with the British Crown in the 1700s. We would like to take this moment to pay respect to the elders, past and present, and the descendants of this traditional territory. And may we remind ourselves of the important work we have before us tonight. May we make good decisions without prejudice or bias and always in the best interest of our community, which we are here to serve.
Thank you, Councillor Miller. I have a few comments this evening. So once again, welcome everyone to this session of Quispamsis Town Council for November 5th, 2024. I'd like to begin my remarks this evening by welcoming all visitors to our region from around Canada participating in the 2024 U18 Women's National Hockey Championship at the Qplex. We are only 3 days into the tournament and the hockey is fast-paced and exciting. This has been a wonderful event for Quispamsis and for the region. Many of these young women will eventually move on to represent Canada at the Olympics and World Championships, and you've got a chance to see them in your own community. The quarterfinals are on Thursday, semifinals Friday, and gold and bronze medal games are on Saturday. So get your tickets and come on out. Tickets are only $10 at the door, and you can buy them at the administration office if it's in between games. I would encourage everyone to get out and enjoy Canada's best in women's U18 hockey. And thank you to our staff and all of the volunteers without whom such events would not be possible. I would like to thank town staff and everyone else who participated in the special meeting of council last month as we discussed the 2025 budget. The discussions were productive and informative. It was quite obvious to me that our town staff worked extremely hard to present clear and concise budget items and information so that we may make informed decisions about your tax dollars. Council has not finalized the 2025 budget just yet, but that is expected in the coming weeks. New Brunswick's new government has been sworn in Fredericton. I would like to congratulate Premier Susan Holt, the first woman to be elected Premier of our province, and to all members of our new cabinet. A special congratulations to our former communications manager and acting CAO, Aaron Kennedy, the new MLA for Quispamsis, and the new Minister of Local Government and Minister responsible for Service New Brunswick. I would also like to congratulate Hampton MLA John Herron, the new Minister for Natural Resources, and Rossay Quispamsis MLA Alison Townsend, the Minister of Post-Secondary Education, Training and Labour, whose ridings extend into the town of Quispamsis. So we look forward to working with all of you in the coming days. I'm sure many of us will be keeping an eye on the results of the US election, which is happening today. The results of this election will have implications around the world, including in our own province. I was honored last week to receive one of the first poppies from the Kennebecasis Legion Branch President, Brian Eisen, Branch 55, Branch 58, to kick off the Legion's 2024 poppy campaign. I was also humbled and very proud to pin a poppy on veteran George Cooper. And I got to know George a little bit at his birthday party last May when he turned 100 years young. And what an inspiring man he is. He is still making violins by hand, and just an absolute treasure that we have living here in Quispamsis. So I want to encourage everyone to wear a poppy as we recognize our veterans, past and present, who have served with great dignity and sacrificed so much to ensure our freedom. Freedom comes to us only because others gave up theirs. Poppies are available at the Legion's office on 8 River Road in Rothesay, at many local businesses, and at the administration desk right here at the town of Quispamsis. As in years past, we have 2 Remembrance Day ceremonies in the Kennebecasis Valley on Monday, November the 11th. An indoor ceremony will be held at the Qplex. Front doors will open at 9 a.m. with the ceremony beginning at 10:30. All those planning to attend are asked to be in the building by 10:15. A short Remembrance Day memorial service will be held at the Cenotaph on the Rothesay Common beginning at 10:45. Quispamsis Town Hall will be closed on Monday, November 11th to recognize Remembrance Day. We had a wonderful turnout for Dark in the Park Halloween event, October 25th, at the Arts and Culture Park. There were lots of ghosts and goblins and some great stories from David Goss and terrific prizes. And our Halloween display helped create a fun and spooky atmosphere for the evening. Thank you to the town's programming staff for making this annual event such a success. Our next event at the Arts and Culture Park will be the annual tree lighting ceremony on Wednesday, November 20th, 2024. Bring a mug from home to enjoy a hot beverage as well when we unveil our holiday dreamland for the winter season. There will be light refreshments and a visit from Santa to help make the evening extra special. There will be Norm Jackson Christmas lights posters available for $10 each, with proceeds going to the KV Food Bank. And don't forget to register for your float by November 20th to be a part of the 26th annual KV Santa Claus Parade. Community groups, organizations, and businesses are welcome to join the holiday fun by submitting a float application. The parade is Saturday, November 30th, beginning at 6 o'clock. It starts at Kennebecasis Valley High School and runs along the Hampton Road to the intersection with Marr Road and the Clark Road in Rothesay. As part of the town's asset management plan, the town hall is undergoing a facelift. You may see contractors removing and replacing siding at the town hall over the next few weeks. Town hall is expected to remain open for regular business during these hours of renovation. For your safety, I would like to suggest residents to respect any signage or barricades which may be around the construction zone. Another safety reminder, we are now in daylight saving time after setting our clocks back 1 hour on the weekend. Right now, some people may be on the road with very little daylight. Please be aware of others. Everyone is trying to get to their destination safely. Keep our residents top of mind while you are traveling on the roads. Finally, Millennium Cycle Bike Park celebrated its 3rd anniversary on Sunday with lots of biking activities at the park, a pizza party, the opening of the new weather shelter and washrooms, and the Ellen Waters bench was also unveiled by her mom, Nancy. Ellen's law came into effect to provide safety for cyclists through the 1 meter spacing rule. And certainly it was a pleasure to meet Mrs. Waters at that event, and she was certainly proud to be able to be there for the bench unveiling. So that's all I have this evening. We will move on now to item number 3, I believe. Oops, just one second. Sorry. Item number 4, disclosure of interest. Seeing there are none, I will move on to item number 5, presentations, and there are none this evening. Item number 7, minutes of the previous regular meeting. Councillor Donovan.
I'd move that those minutes be approved as prepared.
It's been moved by Councillor Donovan, seconded by Councillor Bigger. On the question, please vote. Motion carried 7-0. Item 7B, special meeting proposed 2025 budget, moved by Councillor Bigger, seconded by Councillor Donovan. On the question, please vote. Motion carried 7-0. Unfinished business, 8A. Residents' concerns regarding intersection of Provincial Highway Route 119 and Meenans Cove Road. Staff report from CAO, Mr. Ian Watson. Mr. Watson.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you to members of council. Just wanted to draw your attention to the staff report on the topic, and indeed wanted to be sure that we updated council given the interest in the file and the potential public safety implications that were raised last time. As you can see, both town officials and the Quispamsis Regional Police Force are gathering additional data in support of an application to the Department of Transportation and Infrastructure. And that's an important validation to make sure that we understand clearly the nature and scale of the concern. You'll see some additional items there related really to shorter term and longer term opportunities in the engineering, enforcement, and education realms. Short term, we are investigating options for signage on both Meenans Cove Road entrances into that intersection. The size, the placement, and the wording that might help ensure safe entry into the 119, coupled with targeted enforcement. So that would cover short-term education and enforcement pieces. The longer term, though, is an engineering solution, if warranted, and if DTI approves, given that it is a controlled provincial highway. That's where DTI does need a formal traffic analysis using the data that we've collected before deciding if changes are warranted. And I would expect that a meeting with DTI would be appropriate after submission of the traffic analysis for their consideration, which is likely early January of 2025. Anyway, certainly welcome any questions or conversation at your discretion, Your Worship.
Councillor Bigger.
Thank you very much, Your Worship, and thank you, Mr. Watson, for the update. I appreciate the speedy update on getting some of that traffic data. That's great. And I'm sure that the residents will be very interested to know that we're working at that as well. I just wondered if I take note of what seems to me to be in these 4 days or so of data that was collected, a fairly lowish number by my kind of estimation in terms of those who are exceeding the posted speed limit. And that doesn't correspond with the emotion, of course, that was expressed about concerns. Not that speed is the only concern, but I just wondered if there was any expression of thought by the KRPF on that finding, or if that was part of the discussion at all. I know that there was a report from the police department that showed the number of traffic incidents there, accidents and so on, over the last, I think it was 3 or 4 years, I can't remember which it was. And it was, I think, 15 in total, and 7 or 8 of those were with animals. So it was someone hitting a deer, for example. So that was also sort of lowish in terms of the total number of accidents. I'm not saying any accident is a good thing, of course. But anyway, I just wondered if there was anything beyond the bullet point you have here in terms of any opinion expressed. Perhaps it would be inappropriate to guess at that, but that was my question. Thank you.
Mr. Watson.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you to Councillor Bigger and others. I think it would be fair to say that the Quispamsis Regional Police Force would probably find it a little early to make a determination on the total burden there that may or may not exist, just by virtue of that analysis being quite short. It's quite a short time period, and I know they have interest in being sure that the traffic data collection, as does ours, data collection, covers a wider span of time that would include weekends, weekdays, school off days, those kinds of things, just to make sure that there is a true picture being painted. So I think upon completion of that and prior to submission of any request to DTI, we'd be happy to share a more robust and complete report that might include some interpretive notes from the police force.
I thank you very much. Yeah, no, that makes total sense, of course. They want to get that out over a broader sort of breadth of time, probably. I just would also say I noticed in the sort of current steps being taken, one was to sort of target the area a bit and pay more attention to what's happening there by our KRPF, and that's a great offer by them to just, make it a place of special focus for the time being. So, thank you.
Councillor Luck, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. My question is directed through you to Mr. Watson as well. It was more for just a few comments similar to Councillor Bigger. Kind of actually a little bit different because I guess, it's the lens that you look through. I was actually quite surprised that there was 36 cars that were driving over 35 kilometers per hour over the speed limit, which is quite concerning. I know it seems like a small number, but it only takes one car to hit you at that speed when you're trying to pull out of the road. But I actually wanted just to comment on, I guess, two things. I know on social media people were posting that there was a speed trap there. So I'm not sure if that would also affect the data collected because it was all over social media. So I don't know if people were purposely slowing down. And secondly, some of the residents that brought this concern forward also commented that summer, that arterial, of course, is a lot busier because people are going over to the peninsula for, more touristy things. So they were, they had kind of voiced a concern that if they did do the analysis in the fall, kind of winter months, you're not going to get the volumes that you'd get in the summer, which makes sense because that's the only way to go to get to the ferry. And, as we've seen the lineups, in the summer to get to the ferry. So anyway, I just wanted to make that comment that perhaps that can also be built into the analysis. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Luck. Deputy Mayor Scryer, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just wanted to get clarity on the signage. So that's the short-term solution, signage on Means Cove Road, of course, which we own on both sides. So is there anything that stops us from going ahead with that signage now, or are you just suggesting that we wait for all the data before we move forward with signage? I know that was one of the big things that they said, in the short term, long term, and I think they were more concerned with short term. So your comments, please.
Thank you, Your Worship, through you to Councillor Schreier and others. You're right. By virtue of our control over the Means Cove Road entry points into the intersection, we do have latitude. What we need to be sure of, though, is that whatever we elect to do, size, placement, wording, is evidence-based and likely to make a difference in driver behavior. This is the education prong of the effort, and it is within our control. But we want to make sure that if we do something, that it has evidence behind it and that it is likely to make a difference in driver behavior. The other pieces that you mentioned, though, or that came up in earlier in discussion, is additional targeted enforcement, and whether or not that speed trap, presence of a police vehicle, occasional presence of police, an enhanced police presence in that area. All of these things are kind of contributing in a way that we're hopeful adjust behavior and enhances safety in the shorter term while we work on this longer term with DTI. So to specifically to your question, there's nothing impeding us from erecting signage on the Means Cove Road entry points into the intersection, other than being sure that size, placement, language, wording is all appropriate and likely to be helpful. And I would certainly defer to Mr. Loze or others that may have other more technical information to share.
Thank you, Mr. Watson. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Councillor Olson, please.
Thank you, Worship. I've got a suggestion that if we supported or promoted the installation of a bridge, it would slow down the traffic because the speed would be steady instead of people racing to make the last ferry drop off. And that's what they see. They see the cars coming off in a row and they say, oh my God, the ferry's there now. So they step on the gas and everything else is thrown out the window, like, you know. But it's just an idea. It would only cost a few $1 million. And you could save on the signage.
And that was proposed a number of years ago and rejected, but still a good idea.
Yeah, thank you.
Mr. Loche, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. To build off on a couple of the questions, and the other reason we wouldn't do short-term just yet is we don't want to unfairly skew the results of of monitoring. So we've got the police put theirs out short-term. Our engineering team has put something out, and the consultants will be putting out their own monitoring as well. So if we put up things now that slow the traffic down, then we won't get a true reflection of what the speeding issues are. and secondly, the location of the signs, when we do the engineering review, what we're seeing from our engineering initial pass through is that it's a big, wide intersection, and part of the reason might be if we can get that, brought it down to a size, something that we see at the Hampton Road by the arterial, by the driving range, where it's got islands and things like that that actually delineate turn lanes, and when there's a visual cue, that will slow traffic down as well, and it's not as expensive as a bridge, and it's a little bit more expensive than a sign, but it might be a mechanism that we do. But it's really all about making sure, as Ian, Mr. Watson has said, as the base information that we're getting truly reflects the issue at that intersection before we make any decisions.
Thank you, Mr. Loge. Councillor Bigger.
Your Worship, I move council receive and file this update, and the council remain engaged in the file until a final disposition, including related decisions from DTI, are received.
It's been moved by Councillor Bigger, seconded by Councillor Miller on the question. Please vote now. Motion carried 7-0. Item number 8A, B, proposed 2025 Civic Relations Budget Staff Report from CAO Watson, procedure options. Mr. Watson, please.
Thank you, Worship, and through you to members of council. You'll note that this staff report is pretty short. It's largely because we've spent a lot of time on this topic already. I certainly don't want to disrespect the time that you have taken on this matter. That said, the direction was for me to return with some options, and there are some for sure. As always, if it's council's direction with a 2/3 majority vote, you could elect to reconsider the decisions made to date, and specifically the decision to approve the Finance Committee's recommendations. But it would not be my recommendation to do so, mainly because I don't think the process as it currently exists was applied incorrectly. I do think, though, that there's room to review the process for future years. So I know council defeated a motion to review the process in 2026, but on reflection, I hope you see value in allowing staff to complete that review and recommend changes to protect you against the circumstances that arose this year. So overall, I would recommend that council respect the decisions made for 2025 grant applications and the resulting budget requirement, and knowing that we can reconsider within 3 months' time or more. That you ask staff to ensure that such a review is completed and shared with the Finance Committee and then presented to Council prior to the selection process being applied for 2026. But I certainly welcome any conversation or discussion at your discretion.
Thank you, Mr. Watson. Councillor Olson, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'd move that council accept the previous recommendation of the Finance Committee and subsequent council decision on the matter for 2025, and that council direct staff to review the civic relations and sponsorship approval process in time for budget 2026.
Thank you. It's been moved by Councillor Olson, seconded by Councillor Bigger on the question. Councillor Luck.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you to Mr. Watson, it was more for a process. Question is, will all the applicants receive a letter back from the town?
Through you, Your Worship. I will have to check on that. Obviously the successful candidates will. I'm not entirely sure if previous practice was to communicate with every single, but I can report back on that.
All right, perfect, thank you.
Thank you. On the question, please vote. Motion carried 7-0. Item 8C, capital funding arrangements for regional facilities within the Fundy Regional Service Commission staff report from Mr. Watson. Mr. Watson, please.
Thank you, Your Worship, through you to members of council. I hope council can actually excuse my enthusiasm here, because I think last time we met on the topic, we said, yep, there's a bit of exploration that's due here, but that it wasn't an urgent item. Anyway, I enclosed the staff report for your consideration, and I would offer that the staff report does summarize some potential next steps and note some important considerations along the way. That said, I would ask for council's indulgence here to receive and file, knowing that if further discussion is helpful, happy to arrange in advance of the summit plan for later this month.
Thank you, Mr. Watson. And a motion to receive and file. Moved by Councillor Olson, seconded by... Did you ask for a motion on that? Councillor Thompson.
I'm just looking at the motion. I'm assuming that UMNB, and I'm assuming that that was done at UMNB, that motion was brought up, or is this a motion to go to UMNB?
Mr. Watson. Mr. Watson.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you, the recommendation here, and perhaps I'm misguided in terms of motions versus recommendations that show up in your staff report. I would suggest the recommendations are part of the staff report. The actual motion, I would suggest, would be to receive and file. That said, to the question, the UMNB and Fundy Regional Service Commission, that piece, I would suggest, is ongoing, and we wanted to just make sure that that advocacy work related to overall fiscal reform for municipalities be encouraged, and that we contribute to that through UMNB in any way that they deem appropriate.
Okay, I guess my question was, where did this motion come from?
At the last minute, Councillor Miller had asked that we ask about the capital funding for the regional facilities. And he had some suggestions.
I'm wondering about that UMNB and the Fundy Regional Service Commission be encouraged to complete advocacy work related to the overall fiscal reform. That motion was made, who made that? Because it says moved by and moved and second, and there's nothing there. That's what I'm wondering.
That's the suggested motion.
That
His
whole thing?
recommendation. Those are his recommendations,
Yes.
not a motion.
I don't quite understand.
The recommendations? I mean, it's just, Mr. Watson did such a lovely job summarizing all the issues and making such great recommendations. I would actually like to move that we accept the recommendations, like, you know, I think that, well, I agree with all the suggested steps. I don't know if we have to read them all, but I would definitely move to accept the recommendations within the CAO's
fine.
report.
Moved by Councillor Luck, seconded by Councillor Miller to accept the recommendations made by Mr. Watson. On the question, please vote. Show of hands, please. Those in favor. Motion carried unanimously.
We're still stuck on the last vote.
Yes.
I'm a little slow as well.
A little bit of a technical glitch here. Item 8D, ratification of email poll, letter of support, sensory-friendly parades and awareness walks training program. And there is a report from the town clerk. And just as she is trying to fix the problem, I will say that we do respect and we do have a portion during our during our parade around the Autumn Avenue point on the Hampton Road where there is a quiet zone for those who are bothered by either the, I guess, the noise that would be emitted from some of the floats in the parade. Yes, the music playing and so forth. Did you want to add anything to that?
No, Tim may want to add additional context to that as well.
Mr. Rozell, would you like to add any more context to that?
Through you, Your Worship, yeah, just to build on your comments, this has been a practice of the town since 2016. It was originally started with what was known as the quiet zone. It's been renamed to the sensory-friendly zone, and as you alluded, it is featured in the parade every year in the Autumn Avenue and Pinewood Crescent area. And basically what it means is all of the bells and whistles and flashing lights and things like that are turned off in that zone. There is Christmas music that is permitted, and some Christmas lights are permitted as well, but it's just as we see now in various retail outlets and things like that, it is a zone that is designed for those who are sensitive to those different things. So it is something that we have done for a long time, and we have put out social media messaging reminding people that this option is available for them, and we will be doing so again.
Thank you, Mr. Rozell. Councillor Luck.
Thank you, Your Worship. I wanted to thank you and Mr. Rozell for identifying some of the great things that our town is doing to be more sensory friendly. I think that was one of the reasons why the Sensory Foundation actually approached us for the letter of support, because they felt that we were, already engaged and very inclusive in this area. So I'd like to make the motion that council ratify the email poll conducted on October the 16th, 2024, authorizing the draft letter of support to the Sensory Foundation, a nonprofit, is working on their first project, Sensory Foundation, for their sensory-friendly parades and awareness walks training program, which is aimed at making public events more inclusive for individuals with sensory sensitivities.
It's been moved by Councillor Luck, seconded by Councillor Miller. On the question, please vote. Motion carried 7-0. Item number 9 is correspondence. There isn't any. Number 10 is bylaws. There is none. New business. There isn't any. Item number 12, for your information, reports. Item number 13, business arising from Committee of the Whole. And this is regarding the Little Bing Lane. Councillor Bigger.
Thank you, Your Worship. I would move council direct building inspection staff to undertake a review of building bylaw 055, section 8A and B, including the refundable deposit process, and return to council with a report on steps necessary for enhancement.
Been moved by Councillor Bigger, seconded by Councillor Miller. On the question, please vote. Oh, sorry, didn't see that.
It was just a question for the town clerk. Where I wasn't here enclosed, I don't believe I'd be allowed to vote on that, correct? Okay.
Councillor Olson, did you have a question? Okay.
No.
Please vote.
Just Councillor Miller.
Councillor Miller. Yes. Motion carried 6-0. Item 14, adjournment. Moved by Councillor Olson, seconded by Councillor Miller. Councillor Miller, on the question, please vote. Motion carried unanimously. Good night, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your week, and please do try to attend one of the Remembrance Day recognition ceremonies. Thank you.